Okay, hello everyone. Excuse me. I hope you all had a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me here on the green table on this Thursday evening, or I would rather refer to it as Friday Eve. Woo woo. So tonight we're going to talk about 9 ways to know if you are a spendaholic. As Americans in general, we spend way too much money on unnecessary things, which is hindering our ability to prepare for our future. So you might be one of those persons who are in denial or who is in denial as to your spending habits. So I'm going to give you 9 tips to know, or 9 ways to know if you are in fact a spendaholic or on your way to being a spendaholic. So again, thank you for joining. Welcome to the green table. Before we get started, I would like to ask you to go ahead and share the video, tag your friends, give me some likes and some greetings and some hearts or whatever. So anything to let me know that you're joining me, because I sure do appreciate you guys. And let's have some dialogue. I want to hear, as I get to something that may resonate with you, go ahead and send a like or what have you. And also let me know that you're here, and also where you're from. Like my new shirt. This is the latest that I got from Mr. Leslie at church. Designs some of my t-shirts for me. So anywho, I did get a question, and I want to get this question out of the way first before we dig into the content. Again, don't forget to share the video with your friends. Invite your friends to watch. Before we get into the content, I did have a question that was sent to my money management wisdom at gmail.com mailbox, which I've asked you to do if you have a question and you don't want to present it during the presentation, the live presentation. That's fine. Hi, Ganesh, and I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you for joining me. So somebody asked me, because I always say, yeah, I'm debt free, no debt. I paid my house off. So, and I've been asked this question a couple of times about, well, why would you do that? Why would you pay your house off and lose your tax deduction? And that is such a crazy myth out there, that people are holding these tax deductions to be as a reason for either purchasing a home or for not paying off their home. Well, honestly, you're not getting that big of a break with your tax deduction. Okay. The average person is probably saving about, for the average house, and your average payment, you're saving between $1,500 and $2,000. But remember, at the same time, you're sending thousands of dollars more for your payment and for your interest. So the trade-off here is you either send $1,500 to the IRS, or you send, $15,000 to Countrywide Mortgage. So pick your poison. Which one do you want to? Personally, I'd rather send the IRS the $1,500 than to send $15,000, to Countrywide Mortgage. So that's one reason for paying off your house. However, if you don't have an emergency fund in place, like not your baby emergency fund, but your big emergency fund for like long-term emergencies, being laid off or, disability or something like that, then I would not advise you to pay your home off, because you need your funds freed up to be liquidated in the case of a true emergency. But you pay your house off once you become debt free. You have no other financial obligations. You have your fully funded emergency fund in place. Then you pay your house off, because then guess what? You can take that money and you can start investing that money into, putting that into your IRAs or your 401ks, increase and max those out. And, by the time you're 65, depending on what age you are now, it's a real possibility you can have between $500,000 and $700,000 or even $1 million, talking on averages. Okay. Average home cost, average saving, average rate of return on investments, and so forth. So it made sense to me, since I was completely debt free, to pay off my house. And so now I have that money I can do other things with, mainly spoil my grandkids. But anyhow, so I wanted to get that out of the way. There's other reasons, like I said, that you have a clear and free asset, your home. You know, it's not as liquid, but again, you've got those investments, but you also have a home. You don't have to worry about foreclosure, or if in retirement, that's another reason you don't want your biggest bill in retirement. So at the very least, you want to make sure that you have your home paid off before you hit retirement, because you're going to be on a fixed income. If you don't have a pension, if you don't do your investments, then you're going to be dependent on Social Security. And that's just not going to cut it. So your home is your asset as well. If you should get into a dire situation to where you need the funds, you could always sell your home, downsize, or what have you. So that's a 100% equity in asset that you can have when you pay your home off. So it's beneficial for most people. Don't worry about a tax credit. That is the craziest thing, is to keep a house because of a tax deduction, I should say. And anyway, you can't, most people, the average person with the new tax laws, you can't take the deduction anyway, because they've raised the standard deduction so high, trying to help us, that a lot of the deductions that we used to be able to take, it doesn't matter. You can't take them because you can't meet that threshold of that additional money for the standard deduction. So if you did your taxes last year, you will realize that a lot of those deductions, your program, or when I do my taxes, and the program will come up and tell you, oh, you should take the standard deduction, because really you don't meet the standard, your itemized deductions, because you can only do your interest if you're itemizing. So when you itemize, all of your items have to add up to, be less than the standard or more than the standard deduction in order to take the deduction. So now, the average person can't even take that anyway. So that's neither here nor there when you're talking about keeping a home or not paying it off because of the taxes. All right, so let's get in that. So that's that question. I hope I answered your question. Person that sent that to me. Now, spending. Y'all, I know y'all gonna be in denial, but we just spend way too much money, and that is actually hindering our ability to do the most important things, or important things that we need to do later down the road, such as saving for retirement. Hey, Danny. Hey, Thais. Hey, Keandra. Thank you. Hey, Karen. Thank you, guys. So let's get to it. Americans in general, we are literally out of control, seriously, when it comes to spending. Now, how do I know that? It's because we're in trillions of dollars worth of debt, and that's consumer debt. So there's a problem that we have to resolve. We have to address it. The average consumer, now get this, spends $5,400 on impulse buys. Now you may say, well, no, I'm not that bad, but really are you keeping your budget? Are you keeping track of what you're spending and where? What exercise that I used to do before I was keeping my things electronically, a spreadsheet, and because I log in all my receipts for everything. Everything I spend, I get my receipt and I log it all in, balance my statement and everything, pay my bills. I do, one whole afternoon I do that. But I sorted my spreadsheet once on who else? Walmart. So I totaled up all my Walmart for the year. I'm not going to even tell you what the total was. So I know that this statistic is true because it's true for me. And I like to consider myself a frugal spender. So that's true. $5,400 a year. You cannot go into Walmart for bread and milk. It's just not possible. Or Target, or whatever your favorite go-to store is. Okay, it's just not possible. We got to get a rein on that. Now listen, if you cut, that was just impulse buy. So if we break that down, there's about $3,000 that we spent eating out. Referring to my notes here, $1,800 in clothing. And this is average. Now we know some of us spend way much more money on clothing than $1,800. $1,000 on ride sharing. And these are, those of us who love to take those, the Uber and the Lyfts everywhere we go. And sometimes it can be economical, sometimes not. And now we got the scooters in all the little cities where you see people, pulling out their phone and their app or whatever. That costs money to ride those little scooters. And I mean, to ride 7 blocks, we need exercise. We need to walk those blocks. $349 on alcohol. Okay, that seems a little low, but we'll go with that. $365 on events. That also seems low. The point is, if you were to save half that money, and Kendra probably knows about this because she's into investments and all, you can chime in on this. If you save half of that money, and get a 7% return, if you start at 25 and you save that money till you retire, get to retirement age, you will have a $500,000. That's assuming a 7% return, and that's on the conservative side. Okay, even if you waited and started at 45 and you save half of that money that you're spending on clothing and eating out, in other words, unnecessary stuff, then you'd have 120,000. You're saying, well, 120,000, that's not much. But if you're 65 and you haven't prepared yourself and and all you have to depend on is Social Security, $120,000 can go a long way for you having to just have started at the age of 45. So what are we spending on? We're buying too much house. We're buying way too much car and too many clothes. We talked about that. And then, some of us may say, well, I'm not a big spender. We have it all under control. But then, your credit cards are maxed out. Okay. So by show of likes, how many of you are, think you have a slight problem or you need to get a handle on it? Give me some likes. And if you think you need a whole lot of help, or you need to rein it in big time, give me some loves. I just want to see what's going on here. Okay, so 9 signs. Get your heads out of the sand. We're going to talk about this. 9 signs that you may have a spending problem. Number 1, you hide purchases from others or you lie about the cost, specifically your significant other. Okay, ladies and some gents, how many of y'all keep them bags in the car until your significant other fall asleep at night? Guilty, but I've been delivered. So if you're doing that, you might have a spending problem. That's also called, if you guys agree that you wouldn't shop or you wouldn't spend any money during a certain time and one of you is going out and doing that, that's also called financial infidelity. Yeah. And we'll talk more about that when we talk about marriage and money in a future talk or at one of my workshops. Number 2, how you can tell if you have a spending problem. If your spending habits are causing arguments and friction between you and your spouse, just so you know, money issues is always in the top 3 reasons why people have dissension and arguments in their marriages that eventually lead to divorce. So spending habits, if you're arguing all the time with your spouse about money, that's a sign you might have a spending problem. Number 3, you consistently max out your credit cards. Yep. Or you're paying or you're leaving a balance on your cards. Number 4 is you're carrying balances on your credit cards. Have I hit anybody yet? Somebody got 1, 2, 3. Number 5. Oh gosh. Okay. I might. Whew. You lose track of what you have. For example, you may end up buying the same thing or very similar because you didn't think you had it or you thought you needed it. My problems were with white shirts. For some reason, I couldn't get enough of white shirts and cardigans. But okay, little technical difficulties. All right. So it seems we had an Amber Alert come up. I'm using my phone and we had an Amber Alert. So hopefully we're back on track. Say, hey, wave, let me know we're back on track because I can't see the other screen. So anyway, so we went through the 9 steps. I hope you didn't miss those last 2. The last one was feeling guilty or remorseful about spending. So those are the signs that you might have a spending problem. Okay. So why do we spend? One of the reasons that we spend is we have not learned, one of the main reasons is we have not learned how to differentiate between our needs and our wants. Okay, so your needs are those things that you need to feel secure and safe. Your wants are the things that you desire, but they don't necessarily make you safe or secure. They're just things that are nice to have. Okay, they have nothing to do with your safety or security. I don't know if you've heard of Maslow, and this is kind of wretched what I'm doing here because I don't have like professional little slides for this because I just thought of this like 5 minutes before we went on. But Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you've ever heard of that, well, what Maslow is a psychologist, and a lot of people, are not too keen on his model, but it's really good when you try to figure out the hierarchy of needs. So there's certain things that we need in our lives. And he starts from the bottom and says that when we feel these needs at the bottom, then we move up to the next one. And a lot of psychologists disagree with the order, but he did get the content down. And I want to use that for illustration of trying to identify our needs versus our wants. So on the bottom, he has what are called our physiological needs, which are air, water, food, health, things of that nature. And then we move up to security. So when we, with our money and our spending, because we have these needs are our greatest needs, we're going to spend our money on, we got to have a place to live. We got to have some food to eat and all that. And then we move up to security. Okay. He has shelter, safety, stability under security. So when we meet these needs, then our next greatest needs is here. And then he moves up to social. Now, social is our love or our belonging or our inclusion, our need for those things. Then from there, it's our ego, our self-esteem, our power, the recognition that we need. And then at the top is our development, our creativity. Now, the reason I wanted to show you this as far as your spending is because where we get in trouble is these physiological needs and our security needs, which are the things that we should focus on the most. We sometimes get those confused with our social needs. And we don't understand why these needs for some people, social and ego, are greater. Greater when it comes to spending than the needs on the bottom. And that's how we get in trouble when we start to spend in the area to fulfill our needs here. For example, our self-esteem, we shop or we buy clothing or we buy cars that are too expensive or that we can't afford because we have a need to fulfill our self-esteem, or we have a need of belonging, or we have a need for somebody to approve of us. So that's why I try not to judge people who you see that they're spending in this area before they fulfill this area, because you don't know their psyche or what they've been through or what kinds of things in their lives that made these needs in the middle become more needful or more prevalent than the needs to get their basic needs met. Does that make sense? Okay, so people get kind of their needs out of order, and that could be based again on their upbringing and things of that nature, their self-esteem, how they feel. Some people have that need to please, and need to, impress. And that could come from these having to fulfill these needs here. And those are more important, actually. You can tell that by people who would pay, go out and pay for an outfit or whatever before they pay their rent. So they've got their need hierarchy all misconstrued. So I just wanted to show you that little diagram. I thought that was pretty cool. I use that when I do my classes for the clerk's office. So what other reasons do we spend? Generational influences. Okay. Because I'm going through these because if we can understand why we do things, then we can start to get a handle on it. Generational influences, those influences or spending habits that come from those who we were raised with or who had the most influence on us. For example, if mama and daddy or whatever was always constantly spending, going on vacation on credit, getting into debt, a lot of times you're going to pattern that behavior. That's why it's very important for us to mimic the behavior as it relates to spending and saving and investing. We need to mimic that for our children. And I'll tell you, I was scrolling through social media one day and I saw it was kind of like back to school last year, some time frame around there. And a parent had posted a picture, of their kids and proceeded to outline the cost of, everything the child had on, how much the sneakers, how much the jacket, how much the book bag, this, that. And then the ending line was, these kids don't really know how blessed they are. So I thought, and I'm like, well, what kind of message is that sending? Could we not just be blessed because we just have shoes and that we have a backpack? But do we have to put a value on, like, at what level does it become just, okay, I got this? And then what level does it become a blessing? Does that make sense? So we have to be careful with some of the lessons that we're teaching our kids, that not to put so much value in the cost and of things, because as they grow older, then that will become important to them. And then they will also become spenders, unnecessarily on unnecessary items, or become materialistic. So be careful there. So again, your social economic status may influence the way that you spend. For example, if you grew up with meager means, you can go one of two ways with that. Either when you come into the place where you are able to buy, you're going to overbuy, because in your mind, man, I was deprived as a kid. I'm not going to deprive myself any longer. And you just get whatever you want at any cost without any thought, to your future, what you're going to need in the future. It's just like, YOLO, you only live once. I'm about to enjoy life today. And you don't think about the future because you were deprived as a child or younger. And it could go the opposite way. If you grew up with humble beginnings, you could become a saver and that's my case. My fear is, being broke or not having enough. So I sometimes probably overdo it on the saving and the conservative. People say, that girl can make $1 holler. And yes, I can make $1 holler. So, your spending behaviors are sometimes influenced by your past or your upbringing. And sometimes another reason, number 3, is why we spend is because we're trying to fill a void. We're lonely, we're bored, we're sad, because, our emotions, we're reacting on our emotions when it comes to spending as well. We want to be liked by others, and this fits into that ego of self-esteem. When we start spending, trying to buy the love of others, we may, overspend or overgift people because we want them to like us. We want them to love us. Okay. Be careful about that. That's not what it's all about. You don't have to buy your friends. You don't have to buy love from anybody. Recognize who you are in Christ. You're complete, all within yourself, and you don't have to buy that love from other people. Be who you are, be the beautiful, wonderful person that you are in Christ, and people will be attracted to you and you won't have to impress them. FOMO. One other reason why we spend is because fear of missing out. If I don't take this vacation right now, or if I don't buy this new iPhone right now, if I don't buy this house right now, you have a fear that this is the only opportunity that you're going to get to do this. It always makes me laugh when the new iPhones or the new versions come out or whatever, and folks are like lined up around the corner or pitching tents or whatever. And I'm thinking, what is the problem? Like, they're making these things to make money. Even if they run out today, they will have more tomorrow. But yet, we have to be that first person to get that thing. We don't want to miss out on what we think is a good opportunity. And so we spend our money because we might miss out. We might not have the opportunity again. So that's another reason why we spend money. I mean, I'm not judging nobody, but I'm telling you now, if I see you out at Best Buy and you pitching tent waiting for the iPhone, I'm going to drag you up out of there and tell you to go home. This is ridiculous. Okay. I'm just saying, tell you now. Image control. Another reason we spend is because we're trying to keep it with that image. How we want others. Ooh, we're running out of time. How we want others to perceive us. Biggest one, social media. Okay. Stop scrolling through and looking and wanting the life, what you think is a cushy life of other people. We don't know their story. We don't know the backstory. You know how sometimes, like for movies, they'll do the trailer and they'll show you all the good parts. And then you go see the movie and you're like, dang, well, that wasn't as good as I thought. Well, that's how a lot of people on social media are doing. They're showing you the trailer of their lives. They're only posting the good stuff. You don't know the backstory. So be careful for covetousness, and wanting jealousy and wanting what other people have. And don't let it take you out of your budget lane, out of your spending lane. Okay. Stay in your lane. So what can you do to curtail those spending? There's some practical things you could do. I always tell my students to ask these questions. One, before you make a major purchase, ask, is this a need or a want? Okay. Ask, is this purchase getting me closer or further from my financial goals? And then the third one, is there a better use of this money? If you take the time to go through those exercises, then, you might make a better decision. The other thing is learn to live with cash and debit cards. Let's try to get away from the credit cards. Okay. And then budget. I cannot stress how important it is for you to keep a budget. I'm going to be presenting a workshop sometime in December, and I'll let you know when and where. But it's going to be strictly about budgeting, why you should budget, how we should budget. And when you leave that workshop, you will know how to budget. You will have your budget in hand to start with. So think of some alternatives that you can do too to curtail your spending. The favorite one I like to use is the Starbucks. And if you go to Starbucks every day, you're spending $3, $4 or whatever, make your Starbucks at home. It costs like $6.99 at Walmart grocery store. You can get it, buy you a $10 little coffee pot and cute little thermos. So you don't mind walking around with your cute little thermos instead of walking around with the designer paper cup from Starbucks. You can save $50 a month, $60 a month, easy. Okay. Think of some other habits that you can do besides going shopping. If you have a habit of going shopping every Saturday, that's just your thing to do. Well, get up Saturday morning and go for a nice long walk. Go walk a trail. Go have coffee with a girlfriend. That's okay to do every now and again. So, do something different. Go to the bookstore, go to the library, do something different other than going to the mall. Okay. And then also, ladies and gents, I guess, stop hanging around with other shoppers. Stop hanging around with other people who have shopping issues and spending issues. They will influence you. Okay. The person who has a drinking problem doesn't go to the bar and hang around with his drinking buddies, because there's too much temptation. So, and you don't want the pressure. So if your girlfriend's like, come on, what, you ain't going shopping? What's wrong with you? Girl, no, I got a plan. I'm working my plan. That's not in my budget. And we have to feel comfortable saying, I can't do that this week, or I will have to catch you next time because it's not in my budget. I'm on a plan. I'm working through some things. It's okay. Don't be ashamed of getting your finances together and meeting your financial goals. Set some spending goals with your spouse. Okay. Sit down together and decide how you guys are going to spend your money and then stick to it. So those are some things you can do. We all have some issues with spending that we have to resolve. But what I want you to understand is that when you spend excessively, there's a trade-off there. So there's an opportunity cost. So you're spending on things that you don't need, and you're sacrificing your future. Now, when you're young, you hear this, it goes in one ear and out the other. But for those who have been around for a while, we see how quickly the years go by. And if you're not prepared, guess what? Now, do you think that all those people in Walmart or at the special events ushering or working at McDonald's, the senior citizens, do you think a lot of them want to be there? Like that's what they plan for their lives? I don't think so. A lot of them are there because they did not prepare for this period in their lives. And the earlier you start to prepare, the better off you'll be able to meet that retirement lifestyle that you want to have. Okay. I don't think it's anybody's dream to work 40 and 50 years and then having to continue to work at McDonald's or Walmart or, at the theater, showing people to their seats. That's not what you want for yourself. How do you get there? You curtail and you rein in your budget and your spending today. Those cute little earrings or that cute Coach bag or that Fendi or whatever, weigh that against, lounging on the beach in your retirement years, not having to get up and go to work, enjoying your grandkids and your family. I mean, come on, there's opportunity costs for the behaviors that we do now determine how we're going to live later. So something's going to suffer. So in the Bible, Luke tells us, because I always want to end on, I'm going to give you the biblical principle for what we talk about, to be on guard against all covenants, because our lives does not consist in the abundance of the possessions. What we have and what we accumulate doesn't make us who we are. Okay. Think about the guy in the story that Jesus was telling about, the guy that had produced all these crops, and he had so much and he didn't know what to do with it. Come on, you have so many crops. Surely you can help somebody. But he didn't know what to do with it. So his decision was, I will go and build me some bigger barns to store all my stuff. So he built the bigger barns to put all his stuff in. And that night, the Lord said, your soul will be required of you. So you're going to die tonight, basically. And then whose stuff will that be? Okay. So let's not build a life on accumulating stuff, because when we're gone, guess what? Your peeps going to be fighting over that stuff. They ain't going to be thinking about you. They're going to miss you for a little while, but they're going to spend a lot of time fighting over it or arguing over this or arguing over that. Trust me, I know. So don't build a life around materialism, around spending. Get your life in order, because, spend your life as if you have a future. Y'all got that? Live today as if you have a future. So prepare and plan for that future that you want. So I hope you guys enjoy that tonight, and watch your spending. Don't forget to let people know about the green table. A lot of the things that I talk about spending. Remember, I am an author. I have written 2 books, Money Management Wisdom for Millennials. They are available through my website, moneymanagementwisdom.net. The second book is Money Management Wisdom, 8 Steps to Living Your Best Life. It's all in here. Again, available on Amazon through my website, moneymanagementwisdom.net. Be listening out. If you're not following me on a regular, follow Money Management Wisdom on Facebook so you can keep up with all the latest workshops that are coming up, and some of the events I'm going to be participating in. I'll be at the Jazz on the Lawn. I believe it's October 12th. I'll get that date for you next week. But that's an awesome fundraising experience for Edison School. And I hope you all would support that endeavor. I have more information on it next week for you. But I'll be there set up, not only selling books, but talking to people who want to talk. People have issues. I love that when I go out and I get to talk to people and help them through some of their financial issues. So again, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. Y'all have a blessed evening and have a great weekend.